Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lost Art Podcast. I'm Paul, and I'm here with Gar.
That's me.
And today we're going to be discussing musicians who said, "I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm out. I'm quitting." Now,
See ya rafters.
either the entire music industry, or just touring, or maybe even just doing albums, whatever. This some part they cut some part, major part off. Now the whole career of a musician is touring and making albums. Those two things. They don't fucking design the merch half the time. Some of them do, whatever. But these are the two main things of a musician's job to do, is to make the music and then play it live. So if they quit one of them, it can have crazy effects. But most of the time, the record label is not having anything to do with someone who is doing a Rick Moranis. I'm out. I'm finished now. I'm done. Like a lot of the time, people can't leave contracts as well, which is very interesting. That comes up a few times as well. So this podcast is dedicated to people who either left the industry completely or gave up. Mostly just gave up touring and said, "You know what? Touring must be fucking grueling. It's not good on the body. It's not good on the mind. I wouldn't say for a lot of people. No, it is for others as well. And you get to choose where you play." So we've made a playlist of the people who have said, "I'm out." So who's your first one, and why did they?
First one it's kind of a double whammy because it's Slayer, and I picked "God Send Death," which is a great song. Now Slayer are probably unique on my choices for this playlist, simply because they kind of knocked the whole thing on the head. They just retired. They were like, we're fucking, we've done all we can, we've had enough, and they went off.
They're not even that old.
Not really, man. There's definitely plenty of bands fucking doing the rounds. I mean, listen, Slayer formed in 1981 in California. For some reason, I never thought Slayer were a California band. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
I remember thinking they were from. Yeah, I know. I remember I found that out in around the 2000s, and even that did kind of surprise me. They don't say California
they just
at all.
don't. And like, I know that like fucking nearly like the big four, which is Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. I mean, Megadeth and Metallica are both from California. So are Slayer. Anthrax are from New York, which is, I couldn't expect that sound from New York. Now, I didn't think Slayer were from New York. I always had a feeling that for some reason I had it in my head they were from Chicago or somewhere.
I was going to say that as well. Some sort of something like that, something a bit out of there. And it's mad because you can tell hip hop. You can tell West Coast from East Coast like in a second.
Yeah,
and I know that it's kind of crazy that so much trash and heavy metal, classic heavy metal, came from such a nice part of the world.
It's weird.
And again, what's nice weather? Maybe parts of California that are grim as fuck.
I guarantee you there is. So they were one of the big four. They done 12 studio albums. They announced their kind of farewell tour in 2018, and it ran for a year and a half. It ran till like November 2019.
That's about a tour. It's regular for a tour for a big band, isn't it?
Yeah, for a big world tour. I mean, they came to Dublin as well, if you remember. I didn't go because I like Slayer, but I'm not.
I'm not going to lie. I've seen them too many times. I like them. I've seen them. I've seen Slayer about 4 times now, and that's enough.
I've never seen them. I've never seen them, and I like Slayer, but I Slayer suffer from a lot of fucking their fans being a pound of bollocks. They suffer from like Pantera fanitis.
They're not nearly as bad as that, but I know what you mean. They like on a surface level they're mad annoying, but underneath that they're just they mean well. Slayer fans actually mean well. They're just a bit. They can come across mad dim, whereas Pantera fans are the ones actually knocking the shit out of each other.
Big hard man, exactly. Now, like the history of Slayer is kind of fraught with mad, weird fucking shit. It's I knew loads about Slayer, but just reading about the kind of not necessarily a revolving door. I mean, the drummer end of things is definitely a revolving door, and it's real. It's mad fucky how they went about that drum and stuff. But the last member to join the band was Gary Holt, who is the main songwriter and guitarist in Exodus. Who really, there should be a big 5, I think, and I think Exodus should be the 5th one. Personally, I think, or at least Exodus and fucking Anthrax should be tied. I think Anthrax are maybe a bit more popular than Exodus, but Exodus fit more in with the rest of those bands than Anthrax. But so I assume Gary Holt just went back to fucking Exodus. He already had a touring band. He already had something going for him, Now he was brought in after Jeff Hanneman died. Now here's another thing, right? I always bought into the fucking legend that Jeff Hanneman died of necrosis due to a spider bite. right?
Yeah.
Always. This is 100% what he was the fucking...
Well, yeah, we were told he was fucking messed up by it.
Yeah, like the whole thing was that he was fucking dying slowly. I had a necrosis of his fucking arm or leg or whatever the fuck it was, where had been bitten by a spider, and he continued to tour for a little while, and he had the arm wrapped up and all. But I got to the point where he just couldn't do it anymore. But it turns out that's not true at all.
Really?
He was bitten by a spider. And
I remember it was bad.
Yeah, and he had a thing called necrotizing fasciitis. And this is what when he died, that was just what everybody said. He died of spider bleeding. It turns out he died of alcohol-related cirrhosis of the liver. It was liver failure he died of.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently,
did a spider bite have anything to do with it at all?
Maybe I might kick things off, but I mean, cirrhosis of the liver is a pretty fucking serious thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like you have to be doing some amount of gargling to be getting cirrhosis of the liver. It's not for the fucking faint of heart. Like
gargling's so nice though.
I'm a big fan.
It's the devil though. It's the devil.
It's mad devilish.
It's very devilish.
So yeah, he died
if I was on tour, I'd be drinking all day, every day. If I was sitting around doing nothing in bars, in places that sold alcohol, while I'm waiting to go on, I'd be like, can I have a Guinness? Can I have that? Can I have that? Oh, what's that? Yeah. That's a new beer. I'll try that. I'd be a fucking dipso in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, now the longest tours I ever done were like 2-3 weeks, and we did drink every single day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you would. Of course you
just did. Now, I'm sure when you get to the point where you're doing world tours and all, after a while you get in your bus and you go to the gig and you fucking do your bit and you fuck off. You know what I mean? After a while, you're probably having a few points during the week, but boy, Jesus, it looked like it really did look like Jeff Hanneman was fucking drinking like a madman. Now, apparently, the band hadn't a clue that he was that involved in alcoholism. They didn't know that like he had cirrhosis of the liver. They thought as well that it was this fucking spider boy. Like now that was him. Jeff Hanneman dying was kind of the beginning of the end for the band. I think Hanneman was one of the key songwriters along with Kerry King, and I think Kerry King needed Hanneman to kind of keep him on track, because when you listen to Kerry King stuff by itself, it's wild. Like it's all over the shop for a lot of
solos. I can take or leave. I do like them sometimes. They're chaos, kind of controlled chaos, and they do make sense if you were to break it down. But sometimes I listen to a Kerry King solo and I'm like, all right,
yeah. Exactly. It's sometimes just it's too much. But I think this was the beginning of the end when Hanneman died. Dave Lombardo was the original drummer. He's the fan favorite really. He originally left in the middle of the Rain and Blood tour in 1986 due to money.
Right.
Apparently he was like, we're signed to a big label, we're doing these big tours, we have a big selling record, and I can't pay me rent and bills at home. Like, what the fuck is going on? So he left and fucked off and done a lot of other bits and pieces. He came back for 2 more albums a couple of years later, and then he left again in 1992.
That's right. I remember. I didn't know he left before that, but yeah, I knew he left in the 90s.
Yeah. So he left apparently in the middle of the Rain and Blood tour. It's like, fuck you, stick it up your hole. They had a couple of other guys play drums. Eventually, Bostoff jumps in and he does a couple of albums with them and a couple of tours. But while Lombardo was back, apparently he had a child due. And he said, listen, I'll tour whenever, but I need September off. Like the first 2 weeks in September, my baby is due, and it's my first child, and I want to be home, and I want to fucking hang out with my baby for a couple of weeks before I go back out on the road. And apparently, he got a fucking phone call off the management company or the tour company saying like, "I know you are booked for a festival, the first weekend in September.
I'll just not see my child, my brand new child.
Exactly.
Like it's a fucking, I don't know, a plumber knocking around to fix the pipes.
Exactly.
Can someone else be there for that?
Yeah. Madness. So he told him once again, he tells him to fuck off. He's like, listen, I'm fucking out. Bollocks off. He comes back again in 2001, and then he leaves again in 2013 over a pay dispute. Like, he's in and out like 3 or 4 times in the history. Paul Bostoff covers from many, many fucking times. So you're pretty much your only 2 original members are Tom Arroyo and Kerry King. And it seems like fucking everyone in the band, bar Tom and Jeff Hanneman, were kind of cunty. Like, Lombardo seems like he's a bit me, myself, and fucking I. And I
don't know, like,
maybe it seems to be just too much. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he's just not into that whole. You see, he's in like a couple of bands. He's in Phantomas and he's in Dead. Yeah. Fucking Jesus Christ, my brain's gone to shite.
Tell me about it.
We were recording a Sunday for the first time, by the way.
Exactly.
After our show, and it was late. It was very late.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, he played with a bunch of bands. He played with a bunch of punk bands. He played with a bunch of fucking metal bands. Played with a bunch of rock bands. Kind of in between and all over the place. And I think that you could be right. That could be more what he was interested in. But I think, like I said, once Jeff Hanneman died, I think just the spark was gone. They were like, you know what? Could you be fucking arse? They also had a string of a couple of albums that didn't do super well.
So yeah, he's going back and he's playing. Maybe some people just like Dead Cross. That's the name of them. Maybe some people just love playing original music, and if they play the same, if you've done the same cities with the same set lists,
fucking 40 years, like it's a big run. So Slayer at the end, they say, listen, we're going to do a farewell tour, and we're going to leave. We're going to go out on our shields, essentially. We'll do this full world tour. We'll make sure everybody hears the fucking hits they want to hear. We'll give it our all every single night. We'll bang this out, and we're just going to walk off into the sunset. Now, my question with a lot of these groups and acts and singers that we're going to go through tonight, my big question will be, if they're not dead already, will they stay retired? Now,
well, a few of these fuckers threw me off, man. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
A few of these fuckers made fools of me, and it was too late for me to change it.
Yeah, it happens.
Like, in my head, I had this idea, especially fuckers from the 80s. Yeah. I said, you know what, that's deadly, they returned. I checked on tour every day this week. Or whatever, like not this week obviously, but last week. I was like, made a fool of me. There's a few people on this now, you know what, but so I've just had to change it to retired for well, over a decade.
Oh yeah, so exactly. They took a while off.
Getting moved every time with this. But look, there will be people that will hear stuff like that. Well, obviously we know Slayer are gone.
Slayer are gone.
I can't imagine that will be a thing. And if it is, it'll be awkward and weird.
It wouldn't surprise me that if in like 6-7 years' time they're just throwing a lot of money to do like a Coachella or something like that, or a Riot Fest, you know, one of these big festivals that is famous for throwing big money. Like you've got there's one for like a hardcore music called This Is Hardcore, and one of their big things every year is that they just go out of their way to find all these bands, like big bands that disintegrated in like the late 80s, early 90s, and they just throw them a lot of money and they do once-off gig, and that's it. You know what I mean? And everybody who loves that band flies over to fucking wherever it's on, and I think it's usually Chicago.
And I think that's cool, because I mean, if you give up those songs for 5 years and those fans for 5 years, you'll be like, oh fuck, I do miss that. But I don't miss doing it every day for the same cities without having a year off for it, you know?
Exactly. I have no problem with little reformations and mini tours and shit. That doesn't really bother me. It gives people who missed stuff the first time around, like I missed Rocket from the Crypt the first time around, and I've seen them twice now on this reunion tour. You know what I mean? That's me happy. Yeah, but that's my first one. That's Slayer. Slayer, I think, might be the only out of my choices tonight. They're the ones who, like, full on, they gave up all aspects of the music business. Now, apparently, they've all said, listen, we don't know whether we're going to knock music on the head, but I know Kerry King is doing some stuff with like Dean Guitars now, where he's like pimping guitars, and I'm sure they'll all be kind of gun for hire. Yeah, I'm sure all of them will just do some kind of gun for hire type shit, you know, and we'll be doing the rounds. But that's my first one. That's Slayer. Who is your first one?
Oh, it's been so long. It's been over a year. One of my favourite artists. I've never gotten them on. As far as I know, I've never put them on a playlist because I couldn't pick the right time. But this is the one now. Finally, I get to put on Captain Beefheart.
Oh,
finally. One of my favourite artists of all time. Genuinely, like. And it was only my brother-in-law it was only about 10 years ago. I really listened to like more than I'd heard bits and bobs. But it's one of those things you can't really get into Beefheart. It's too mental.
It's too mad.
You can come in at the wrong time, at the wrong place. But whatever happened, he gave me the right album at the right time.
Yeah.
And over 10 years ago, what am I saying? But since then, I just dug deeper and deeper and deeper into the absolute madness that is Captain Beefheart and his magic band. So I picked Floppy Boot Stomp as the song I want to do.
I listened to this earlier. It's fucking batshit.
That's not even that weird.
Yeah.
This is one of the more accessible things from. That's from the Shiny Beast album from 1978. So Captain Beefheart is Don Van Vliet.
Right.
And he's written some of the most incredible, absolutely incredible artists or albums of all time. That's, as far as I'm concerned, he really is. I think he might have been a genius. I think he was a genius. He wasn't a particularly nice person, but he was a genius. If anyone has never heard Captain Beefheart, you will definitely come in on the wrong song. Try again in another while. Come back in again if you can. You don't. Grant. It's kind of avant-garde, experimental rock. And he was active from the 60s to the very, very early 80s. But before music, he was actually considered a child prodigy when it came to like sculpting and art. He was really like people. Yeah, he worked as and what do you call them? Jesus! Oh my God! There's entire bits of my brain missing, and I didn't even drink. I had a few drinks last night. I didn't many like it.
You fuck all last night.
Yeah. Apprentice. He was an apprentice for a sculptor who told his parents this kid he's going to be fucking huge in the art world. This kid's going to be huge. Whatever happened anyway, he decided, no, music. I want to do music. Captain Beefheart and his magic band were not hugely famous. They had a couple of bits of bobs around, but it was more the influence that they had. It was one of those bands that are way ahead of their time, and he's friends with Zappa, and I think he actually was on Zappa's label for a while, and they had a live album together and all that. If anyone knows that film Frank with Michael Fassbender, he has the Frank side bottom head on. So it's a mixture between two of my favorite things, Captain Beefheart and Frank, because that movie is loosely based on the making of the Trout Mask replica album by Captain Beefheart, where they had no money. They just wanted to do everything mad. They went out into a little house just to do the whole album themselves. Those kind of crazy stories you hear that. I absolutely love those stories about mad albums. Like even Radiohead, OK Computer, which we can't do a podcast without mentioning apparently. They did a thing. They went to a house and just did that album and it's just locked it away. Not in a big studio or anything like that. So he was a dickhead to his band. Really? He didn't treat them well at all. He didn't pay them enough. Although he wasn't even getting that much at the time, he wasn't paying them out, and they were apparently going to the shops and like begging for food and stealing and stuff. They had no money and no food. They were going hungry, and they had to get like loans and stuff like that off their parents. Like telling people, "Go
just to keep them going."
Yeah. So he's still doing the music, and the Beefheart name, I think he every time the thing about Beefheart is every time he was asked about something, he'd give a different answer to everything.
Oh, really?
Whatever he felt like at the time, he was just making shit up. Absolutely making shit up. So people asked him, where does the name Captain Beefheart come from?
Yeah.
And one time he said it was him and Zappa were coming up with superhero names.
Yeah.
That would be his, which sounds plausible. Another one, he said very early on, he said that his uncle had a habit of exposing himself to his girlfriend, to Dawn, Captain Beefheart's girlfriend. He'd piss all over the floor and stuff like that. And he'd mumble around with his dick in his hand. And one day he just walks into the room with his dick in his hand, like squeezing it.
Fuck.
And he went, "Look at this big fine Beefheart."
Ah!
So, look, they had loads of deadly albums. They had like Trout Mask Replica, which is supposed to be like his masterpiece, Lick My Decals Off, which is actually 30 years old this year. 30 years? It can't be fucking 30 years old. 40, 50?
Yeah.
50 years old
50,
maybe this year.
Folks, you're in for it tonight. You're in for it tonight. It was a long day. It was a long night.
Fucking was.
I didn't sleep fuck all last night either.
I didn't really sleep. You see, because I live beside a building site, the wind gets to travel at full pelt at the house.
Savage. So
anyway, so after a load of legal trouble with those albums, I want to talk about the later years.
You should have put a bit of NASA on.
Nice. We talked about that yesterday. I get very sleepy listening to those NASA, and Gary's absolutely fascinated with this. Fascinated.
Pre-lunch checks. Listen to the pre-lunch checks before bed. Like,
I know it's mental. No, it wouldn't be before bed. No, it's only for the daytime sleeps that they work.
Oh, for a little naps. Yeah.
Maybe I've never tried that.
Sleeping for me now is just a race against needing a piss. That's all it is. That's how old I am. I swear to God, I just get into bed and I go to sleep before you need a piss. That's my whole life now. Anyway, tell me more about Captain Beefheart. Come on.
Yeah, so after all those legal troubles, and before he retired, he had 3 albums with Warner Music, but he just awful trouble with Virgin, because when he's paid to make an album, he just went out and spent it, didn't make the album.
Of course.
But that's a lot of people that did that.
Yeah.
So the last 3 albums with Warner, he didn't get the old band back. He got these. He said, I think he might have either said to Warner, "I don't have a band anymore," and they went, "We're going to set you up with." And the kids that he got into that band are fucking phenomenal, like just savants. And those last 3 albums are absolutely brilliant. That Shiny Beast was one of them. But he retired in 1982.
Okay.
And I think it was coming out around then that he had really bad multiple sclerosis.
Oof.
We don't know whether that's the reason he retired from music or not, but he went, "You know what I want to do? I want to do my art like I used to do."
It might not have helped, you know what I mean? Fucking being up on stage.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Lepping around.
He's bad shit.
Yeah.
He wasn't a nice person to his band. He wasn't a nice person to his parents. There was a story with Zappa telling him when he went over to meet him for the first time to make a bit of music together, he was there with his parents and he kept screaming to his man, "Bring me a Pepsi!" And the man came out, "Here you go, son." Like thinking he was a genius. That didn't matter how he acted because that's how geniuses acted.
He's probably
Zappa was like, this kid's a cunt.
But he just sounds like a special needs fucking head, you know what I mean?
I don't know. He might have been. He's just a super, super talented genius, but not quite there on maybe social terms. Well, this is the crazy thing. When he went back into art, it exploded. People that didn't even know or care about his music were like, this guy, and this guy's brilliant. Like, really, really good expressionist painting. Yeah. And he started to get really, really good prices for his paintings, and he started to be in galleries all across the world. Now, it wouldn't have helped. It wouldn't have hurt that he was Captain Beefheart. But to the art world, kind of semi-popular avant-garde rock music, they don't really care.
Yeah, not really.
A lot of people in that kind of art scene, they don't listen to music.
Yeah.
They'll say they do. Oh, of course they do. Yeah, Velvet Underground. He became really established at that. And I think I remember a few years ago, a little while after he died, looking up just to see on some sites what it would be, because he had loads of just drawings.
Yeah.
And they were going for like 50 grand and shit.
Fuck.
Holy shit. Like, it is, like, if you look at his art, some of it is incredible.
Yeah.
His very last album, Ice Cream for Crow, apart from the fact that someone, maybe him, superimposed a picture of him onto the cover in a box, the artwork behind it is like, I don't know, it's really fucking hard to describe. It's almost, not Pollock, but I don't know, it's really, really, really good. Now, some of it looks like unfinished work. Like one of my favourite albums by him, Dock at the Radar Station, looks like someone, he half drew it and just gave up. But he died 10 years ago of complications to multiple sclerosis. Oof. I will always listen to those albums. I just can't get enough of them. It takes a while. Some of them are just like, oh, that is madness. The rhythms, the polyrhythms. And apparently he was telling his band, I want the guitar to go and they were like, okay. And I want the drums to go blah, blah, blah. And then when they started playing it, it actually did come together. They're like, he's right. Like, this is actually really okay.
He saw the pieces
so that was the madness of Captain Beefheart, who I'm finally glad to get onto the podcast in some shape or form. Who is your next person who quit and said, I'm out?
Oh, I'm out. My next one is Sir Elton Hercules John.
Is he gone now?
He is he should kind of be nearly gone, but he's still on the gone and he's gone. And so, Sir Elton Hercules John, who has the Companions of Honor, fucking OBE and CBE and Order of Chivalry and all the fucking malarkey. Born 1947 as Reginald Kenneth Dwight, one of the biggest selling music artists of all time, has sold over 300 million records. Like 300 million records.
Fucking madness.
He is the most successful.
Just for the like, let's say Kanye West has sold 25 million as far as I know. But 300 is insane.
300 million albums worldwide. He is the most successful male solo act of all time. He has,
is he?
Yep. He has 5 Grammys, 5 Brit Awards.
Hang on.
Yeah. This is batshit mad. Batshit mad.
Bigger than MJ.
What?
More than Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because while he was doing that, Michael Jackson wasn't a solo artist for years and years and years.
Yeah, when he started, like, fucking, he had and he's still going, and Michael Jackson obviously isn't.
That's very true. That's very true.
So 300 million albums. I have a list of his accolades here. It's fucked up. So he's 73 years of age. He has 5 Grammys, 5 Brit Awards, 2 Academy Awards, a Tony Award, a Disney Legends Award, and something called a Kennedy Center Honor. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Launch some fucking Kennedy Center. This is NASA, isn't it?
I don't fucking. I'm a Kennedy Center Honor. I don't know. I didn't even click the link. I don't know what it is. I'll find out, and we'll talk about it on the show next week. He was the owner of Watford Football Club from 1976, 1976 to 1987. Then he bought it again in 1997 and had it until 2002. Big football head, big time football head. Yeah,
he's mad into Watford. Watford are really good side. I think they were relegated this year though.
There's been over 31 members in his band. He's kind of. I think he's had this same. There's been 2 or 3 people that kind of been with him since the get-go, and then most of them tend to be kind of session musicians and people from other bands are just going to jump in tour to tour. So 31 people since 1970 have jumped on. So in 2018 he started a 3-year retirement tour called Farewell Yellow Brick Road, and it started on September 18th. It was supposed to run till December 2021, but obviously it's on pause right now because of COVID and shit like that. Yeah. So he said, I'm not going to stop recording. I'm just not doing tours. I just don't want to do world tours anymore. So he's got 2 kids with his husband, and he's mad for the kids to be footballers. So he's like, I want to bring the kids to football training.
I'm jealous of his kids, man. I'd love to go with Elton John as my dad and have loads of money, but also have a mad dad. Yeah. A mad dad with loads of money.
Exactly, yeah.
I'd be mad into that.
His kids are called Elijah and Zachary, and they're 6 and 8 respectively. So they're still young, and he wants them fucking playing football and wants them to have a real kind of childhood, as opposed to fucking, daddy being gone. Well, one of the daddies being gone for the whole year, So he's like, I'm gonna bang this out. I'm gonna get this fucking tour over and done with, and I'm gonna come back. And he said, listen, I'm gonna keep recording albums. I want to keep playing music. That's what I was put on there to do. And he said, I'm not against doing like once-off gigs every now and again, and I might even do a little residency in Las Vegas or something, for fucking 2 weeks out of the year. As long as I don't have to move around and I can bring me kids with me and all this kind of shit, I'm perfectly happy doing it. But these big tours, these world tours, forget it. He's like,
the more you read about this podcast, man, I don't know how people do those big world tours.
Yeah.
Like, Japan looks incredible. Switzerland looks amazing. Belgium, New Zealand. But after 40 years, you might be like, like I know the world more than most people.
Exactly.
And inside out, I know.
Exactly. And you might not even be getting to see too much of these places, you know what I mean?
That's the other epoxy thing about it, man. Exactly. Imagine that. Like, amazing places, and you don't get to even see them.
I list off fucking 40 cool places in the States or Europe I've been, but I couldn't tell you fuck all about them. I'll tell you what the airports look like, or what the roads look like, and what the venue I played in looked like. And maybe I walked around the venue for fucking an hour before. But I don't know anything about the place. So you can imagine if you're fucking a big name, you're Elton John, you're not going to just start walking around fucking Baltimore.
Look, when I release this album, I'm just going to have to get used to it, man.
Yeah, it's fucking be hard out there, man.
Yeah, but look, I'll suck it up, I'm this whirlwind that this album's going to cause. When I put it out on SoundCloud and 2 days later I've already forgotten about it.
But listen, that was Elton John. I put up Rocket Man because I'm a big Elton John fan. I don't listen to him all the time, but I like loads of his stuff. And, Rocket Man might be his biggest song, but it's a fucking killer song. And
Rocket Man is one of my favourite songs. And I'm not an Elton John fan at all. I like some of his stuff. I'm not going to lie to you, through the 90s I fucking hated it.
Oh, I can't do all that Candle in the Wind fucking shit.
Princess Daddy in the car. Yeah, that's not the lyrics.
Not for me. Like fucking.
And then next year someone will die and he'll be like, "Now you're the candle in the wind." But to be honest with you, the more I dug into like some of the rock and roll stuff, it is good. Like Saturday Night is great as well.
Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting is a fucking killer. Tiny Dancer is one of the greatest songs ever written. Like he has the brain for it.
And your song is a beautiful love song, to be fair.
It is. Right, that was Elton John. Who is your next one?
My next one is the most unique female solo artist I think of all time, Kate Bush.
All right, yeah.
Kate Bush. Everyone knows Kate Bush. The iconic albums, Hounds of Love, Sensual World, Never Forever. She also, I think we've mentioned this in the podcast before because she has come up a lot. She was the first woman to reach the UK #1 with a self-written song, Wuthering Nights.
That's right.
But her first and only tour ever lasted 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
That's 6 weeks, that's it. That's all she done.
Her very first tour only lasted 6 weeks. Some people put it down to the fact that she had a fear of flying. Some people attribute it to the fact that touring drains creativity. I don't believe that because it was 6 weeks in. This is the one I'm going to go with. I think it's fairly standoutish. Her lighting engineer, Bill Duffield, was killed during a warm-up gig when he fell 17 foot under the stage into a lower part of the concrete stage. He was only 21. It was the same age that Kate Bush would have been at that same time. She wrote the song Blow Away for him, and then she never toured. So that to me would have been around that time, I'd say.
Yeah.
So she still continued to go on and make those absolutely amazing albums, but she wasn't touring.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing. And I find a lot of people that do are trying to desperately push boundaries forward, pull back from the live, because all you can do is just play the songs. Also, if you had mad, crazy layers like Enya, I remember reading an interview with Enya a while ago, and she was like, maybe, well, this was an old interview, but at the time she was still saying, I might be only getting ready to play gigs because the music I write would be nigh on impossible.
Yeah.
It was impossible through the 80s and 90s to do her music live, apparently. Now, I don't know what she means by that. She might not want to go with backing tracks, in which case you record your vocals 1,000 times plus, which Enya does. You can't do that live. No. I think a lot of Kate Bush stuff live as well, but she also wanted those crazy, mad videos in a live performance version, and maybe for whatever reason, she came up with the idea of having... I'm not saying this, I'm just saying this is the facts. I'm saying there could be something like she wanted the stage to be hollowed out or something. Whatever way, she could have blamed herself. She hasn't really spoken much about it. But when she released the Red Shoes after her mother died, her mother's from Wexford, by the way, or Waterford.
Really?
Yeah, her mom's from Waterford.
I did not know that.
Hannah Bush. Well, Hannah Deary, I think it was. Hannah Deary. She planned to quit because I think it was around the same time as one of her children was being born. So after the Red Shoes came out, she was supposed to quit for 1 year, and that became not just quitting music, but quitting the public eye for 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
So not only did she retire from touring from the late 70s till then, she'd now given up recording music, which is a real shame. I think she was still writing it, I'm pretty sure, because when she came back out in 2005, she released 3 banger albums in a row. Yeah,
she came out strong, didn't she?
Yeah, with Aerials, and it's really, really good album. 2005. I remember hearing going, Kate Bush releasing it, I was like, bollocks. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Bollocks is not going to happen. And when it did, it's a double album, and it's got incredible songs on it, like How to Become Invisible and stuff. And I just remember listening to just going, that is exactly what Kate Bush fans are going to want after Jesus, that's 12 years. She also did do in 2014, and I'm fucking raged. I didn't get. It was actually nearly impossible to get tickets for this. 22, I think it was 22 gigs in the Hammersmith Apollo, which also is not touring. That's not touring. If you play,
it's a residency,
one venue, a residency in a venue, that's not touring. So she still had quit, but she did release albums. Her last album, 50 Words for Snow, was 9 years ago now. And it came out to absolutely unreal reviews again, like much like the two before. So Kate Bush gave up touring totally and gave up music for over a decade. So there's 2 big giant fucking no thankses. There was a famous story going around. It turned out to be debunked by Kate Bush and the record label. They called around to her a few years after the Red Shoes. I think it was, maybe it was for the Red Shoes. And they were like, "Kate, you haven't been answering calls, and we need to hear what you've been doing." And she went, "Right, I'm ready to show you what I've been doing." She came out of the kitchen with a plate full of like home baked muffins or something. If that's true, I wish that story was true. I wish it was.
I heard a story about like that before as well, but she invited everybody over to her house, the record label. Saying fucking I have I need you over here on Saturday night or whatever, and she hadn't released an album in years, so they were all like, oh my fucking god, they like got a helicopter and all flew out to her gaff wherever the fuck she lives in the wilderness. I think she's one of these people that has a castle like Enya, and fucking got the helicopter out to her gaff, walked in. This I think I read this in like NME, it could be bollocks, who knows. They walked in saying like, what's all right fucking Kate, we're ready, we're here. Play it for us. And she said, play it. She goes, no, it's my birthday. And fucking some butler wheeled in a birthday cake. So she doesn't have any friends or something like that. Like, she doesn't know that many people. She's kind of reclusive. And she just invited people from the record label because they were the only people who ever listened to her.
I don't buy that.
I don't know. I've no idea. Couldn't tell you. I was
reading an interview with her, I think ex-partner, possibly ex-husband. No, ex-partner who used to be in the band. And now he plays in a tribute band.
Really?
For Kate Bush.
No way.
I don't know whether that's... I don't have an opinion on that. I don't know how I feel about it. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. That's mad weird.
Anyway, look, that was Kate Bush. She had 2 giant fucking fuck-offs.
Yes.
One of them touring and then one for years where she said, she goes, I just wanted to be a mother. Like, I'm not saying you can't, I'm definitely not saying you can't be not a good mother while you're on tour, but she wanted to just devote all of it. Like Rick Moranis that time, I think that was the deal with him, wasn't it?
I think kids or something, just like I don't want to do it
kids
anymore.
went, I just want to do this all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks is another one. Fuck me. The reason Garth Brooks never appears on our podcast is because he's not on Spotify and he can't put him in the playlist. Yeah. He would have been on it like 10 times by now.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. He gave up to look after the kids. I want to be part of their lives for that year.
Also, he also had more money than God.
Minted.
Yeah, exactly.
Minted. Yeah. So that was Kate Bush. Who is your next one?
My next one is Billy Joel. And
has he quit? I don't know.
No, he had. This is a weird one. This is very unusual, actually, in music, and I don't know. I don't think I know anybody else like this. So I picked We Didn't Start the Fire just because Jackie Chantlin died.
I thought you would have picked. Yeah, well, to be fair, I thought you would have picked Moving Out.
No. I was going to do River of Dreams just to annoy you, but I played that last week on Lost Gart because you wouldn't let me play it.
Did you play it?
I done it last week. So I picked We Didn't Start the Fire. So Billy Joel was born in 1949, grew up on Long Island. Recording career. This is where it gets weird, right? Billy Joel's recording career lasted from 1971 until 1993. Right? That's it. Billy Joel has not recorded a new album since 1993. He still tours, he still plays, but he has not released a new fucking album since 1993.
So have we got someone that's I'm out of recording?
Yep.
Deadly, because I wanted one of them, and the only person I could think of was Andrew Eldridge from Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah,
who will tour all day, every day, but will not release more. Deadly, because I wanted someone on the playlist.
Now, there's a tiny caveat to it that I'll get to later, but let's just say that he released his last Billy Joel album in 1993, okay? So 12 studio albums, sold 150 million albums worldwide. He's a third best-selling solo act of all time.
We know who the first one is.
We know who the first one is. We have to assume the second one's Michael Jackson. We'll have to look that up.
So hang on, Elvis. Hang on. Garth Brooks is number one of them all. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Let's check this out. Look, the problem when we're doing these things is a lot of places say a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and that's also a lot of places will only pull from certain kind of sales avenues and countries as well. So it's very unusual. Some people will be number one in America, and some people will be number one in Europe. Some people will be number one in the world. All right. Now this is I think we kind of talked about this on an old podcast, but Billy Joel started off playing in a metal band called Attila. And we actually found an Attila song on Spotify. We put it on a playlist before.
He was in the metal band,
Yeah. Now, the band broke up when Billy ran off with, I think, the guitarist's wife and married her. He just fucking nabbed her. And he was like, me and you, baby. And fucking legged it. And left her.
Moving out.
Yeah, exactly. And fucking left that poor bastard there after stealing his wife. Now, apparently, they kind of stayed mates even after Billy Joel robbed his missus. And he even produced a couple of albums. Billy Joel produced a couple of albums and helped your man try to get a bit of a music career going afterwards as a bit of a, let's make up for it. Because I think Billy and your one didn't. I think Billy Joel been married like 3 or 4 times. He's just one of these guys. Happens an awful lot. So the Attila released one album, self-titled, and it's considered to be one of the fucking worst albums ever made. It's supposed to be absolute garbage. It's supposed to be like metal kind of psychedelia type of thing, like Black Sabbath with more fucking Spinal Tap kind of fucking Frodo fucking the Mystical Forest type of shit. So he fucking hates it. Joel's like, I can't even listen to it. I'm sick until I was part of it. Like I'm glad I was part of it. I can't listen to that fucking album anymore. He's had 33 top 40 hits. He's one of the first ever US acts to ever tour the Soviet Union. So he'd done a full tour of the Soviet Union in 1987. So that's a big fucking deal as well. His last album in 1993 was River of Dreams. And then he just retired from writing new material. He's like, I'm fucking out. He had a weird fucking past. Well, he was married 4 times. Actually, that's right. Married 4 times, and he has a strange history with kind of mental health. Every now and again, apparently, I don't know whether he blames this on recording and touring or whatever. He just had a couple of fucking hard turns, and he tried to kill himself a couple of times. One time, he wanted to drink. He drank like a litre of furniture polish in the hopes that'd kill him, because he thought if he drank bleach, it would hurt. He was like, if I drink bleach, like that'll hurt when it kills me. But furniture polish.
Anything you drink that can kill you is going to hurt either way. But
yeah, exactly. Someone needs to have a word with Billy Joel. But he drank a liter of fucking furniture polish, tried to do himself in. It obviously didn't work, still around. Now, this is the little ping at the end of it. So Billy Joel has not released a new album since 1993. However, in I think 2001, he released a record with a friend of his called Fantasies and Delusions. But it's classical music. Right? So it's him and a mate of his, I think it's a Korean violinist.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that album. Yeah.
Just composed a bunch of like classical fucking. I think it's under the Billy Joel wing, but it's like a collabo fucking type of thing.
I remember I was reading a bit about that when we did the Cold War podcast. Did he make it onto the Cold War playlist?
I do not know.
Because
he may have been mentioned.
Part of that thing that if anyone ever wants a really crazy story, read up about when Billy Joel went to Russia to do a gig.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people in the Gorbachev era, I think,
to
go over and do a gig, and it was still crazy.
Yeah.
And he was screaming at the lighting engineer to take the lights off the front row.
Really?
Every time the cameras would turn on them and the lights turn on the crowd, they'd stand dead still, go, I'm not getting caught dancing.
Sickened.
Yeah, that's it. I think we did cover that before.
Yeah, I think we might have. That sounds
familiar. And he has a temper on him.
Oh, yeah.
Real temper on him.
Yeah. Born and raised in the Bronx, and kind of jumped between the Bronx and Long Island, so it'd be hard enough. Like, but he said that he's just not ambitious or driven about writing pop songs anymore. He just doesn't want to do it. He's happy enough to keep playing the old stuff that people like. But he doesn't like people picking apart the music and trying to find kind of meanings and his secret messages and shit.
Well, if his last album was River of Dreams, I'm kind of glad he didn't make any more. No, I haven't listened to the album, but that song, In the Middle of the Night,
I love that song.
Such a bad song. That's a reggae song.
Do you know what I heard the other day? Have you ever heard, what's it called? It's called Harry by Bauhaus. It's a reggae song. Bauhaus have a reggae song.
I've admitted this before. I don't listen to Bauhaus all the time. I have a few Bauhaus songs I listen to, but I think overall, look.
Yeah, it's fine.
Obviously, a terrible got that Bauhaus album, not one of my favorite got bands.
Fucking listen to this, folks. Go and find Harry by Bauhaus. I'll put the link up on the page.
But even if you listen to the cover of David Bowie,
it
doesn't sound like other Bauhaus. It's great. No. Like, it is great. I do like it, but it doesn't sound like other Bauhaus.
No. Right, okay, what we got? Yeah, so he said I'm not going back to recording. He said that pop song era is done. I think he just had a little itch that he wanted to scratch by doing a little bit of classical music, and it was very low key. It wasn't a big release. The biggest thing about it was the fact that he hadn't released anything in since 1993. And,
that's mad. Yeah.
So he's still touring to this day. He has a residency. Or no, he doesn't have a residency. He has what they call an installation in Madison Square Garden. So I think it's like the last Friday of every month he plays a gig in Madison Square Garden.
Jesus.
Which is fucked up. You think most bands would spend their entire lives dying to play Madison Square Garden, and this fucker plays there once a month. So
yeah, just for the crowd.
Apparently this is a thing that they're doing in Madison Square Garden now, where they just they've got, say there's 30 days in a month, they pick 20 of them that are for rent, for whatever, wrestling, for UFC, for fucking ice hockey, whatever the fuck they're doing, and they keep X amount and they do these installations. So you could have, Elton John every fucking third Monday of every month, you know what I mean, and then fucking Billy Joel the second Thursday of every month, that type of thing, where they put these classic artists in and they just stay there as long as they want. That's their little installation. And if after a year or two they're like, let's move it to Vegas, that's what they do. Anyway, that was Billy Joel. Who is your next one?
My next one is Josh Silver of Type O Negative. He was the keyboard player in Type O Negative for 18 years. It's no surprise to a lot of people listen to this. Type O Negative, one of my favourite bands. I think they're one of the greatest bands of all time. 7 absolutely brilliant albums. And Josh Silver himself is I think he's one of the best examples of like an incredibly instrumental and important keyboard player for that band, if you get me. Like, they're irreplaceable. There's a lot of people who are possibly better keyboard players, but for that, the stuff he wrote and all his backing vocals and everything, he was such a monstrously big part of Type O Negative sound. He started in Fallout, a band called Fallout, and when they broke up, they went on to become Carnivore, but he wasn't in Carnivore, I don't think, as someone who played keyboards. He went on to be in a band called Original Sin.
Yeah.
But when Carnivore broke up, and then Typo Negative happened after that, and Josh got the call from frontman Pete Steele, who we know, to be the keyboard player. So during this time of Typo Negative's entire career, guitarists and drummer Kenny Hickey and Johnny Kelly had been in bands like Seventh Void, Danzig. They've been in Danzig as well. And when Peter Steele died in 2010, they kept going with bands like Pale Horse Named Death, who we saw in The Point of all places. They're actually lovely guys as well. We met them afterwards as well. Silver Tomb and the Seventh Void. I listened to a bit of Seventh Void. It's grand. It's not really my thing. But what happened was when Pete Steele died, Josh quit music completely. He's the only one that didn't keep going. Obviously, Pete Steele passed away. Kenny Hickey and Johnny Kelly went on. And Sala Brusco, who had been in Typo Negative for a while, was also in the Pale Horse Named Death. They kept going as well.
Because I think there's a version of Carnivore doing the rounds now called like Carnivore AD, which is as many of the original guys from Carnivore that are still kicking around. And I think they just get like guest singers and stuff like that in, and they do just gigs for the crack every now and again. Called Carnivore AD.
Well, I don't know if Kenny Hickey was in Carnivore. Anyway, that was sort of a. I think he might have been actually. Fuck, I don't know. Anyway, Josh
there wouldn't have been much keyboard in Carnivore every now and again.
He quit music, and he became a New York City EMT. Really? And he still is to this day. In fact, he actually missed Typo Negative. I think he missed Typo Negative's last tour on his training to become an EMT. And I don't know. I wonder if that fucking pissed him off now. I wonder if he'd become like an EMT because I don't know. He said he wanted a more stable job to provide for his.
Makes sense. You have a fucking family, man. The band is not for you. Like, it's really not.
Yeah. So now what an incredible change. Job playing festivals, gigs all over the world and going, no, I want to become an EMT. Saving lives.
I think I might have heard of this guy before. I think he's mates with fucking Paris Mayu from Cro-Mags. And Paris...
Possibly. Are they a kind of Brooklyn band?
They'd be a New York band, but Paris is he's a cameraman. I talked about him before, but he made all of Typo Negative's music videos. He was like mates with Pete Steele. And if I remember correctly, he was talking one day about one of the lads from Typo that became an EMT. I just remember that part.
That's definitely him. It's the only one that did, yeah. So I just found that incredible. And since that has happened, he doesn't do interviews or anything like that. He's like, I'm not going to talk about being in a
not music anymore,
your job. I'm out. I'm actually out.
Yeah.
So the rest of them all went on. I've seen them live since then and all that in different, well, I've only really seen Pale Horse. Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not going to go and see the Seventh Void, and I don't know anything about Silvertown. But he decided, that's what he wants to do. And there is a photo of him driving an ambulance.
Yeah,
he's either in the passenger seat or anything, and he's absolutely normal looking lad now. The head is shaved, the beard is gone.
Yeah,
he just looks like an
EMT. Standard human. Yeah,
an EMT. Yeah, but what? That's crazy.
A real person.
I think you can have enough of music.
I guarantee you can. Yeah.
Or else. The only band for him was Typo Negative.
Maybe he just got a taste of it and said, "What's the point?"
But what's 18 years? Typo Negative, 89
it's a lot.
2010.
Yeah, that's an awful lot. Like when you think about it.
That's him saving lives every day. I'd love to know if anyone famous ever got him, or anyone that knew any type of mega fan ever get Josh Silver as an EMT. Yeah. But that's him anyway. Who is your next one?
My next one is the Dead Kennedys. And I picked Moon over Marin. So this is a little bit complicated, but it makes sense by the end, so stick with me, right? So the Dead Kennedys formed in 1978 in San Francisco. And they're probably one of the most influential kind of hardcore or punk bands ever. They were one of the first bands that were properly kind of politically and socially fucking active and sang songs about like wrongdoings in the world as opposed to just kind of bands like The Clash that
they weren't actually singing about their holiday in Cambodia.
They were not. Yeah, exactly. They were singing about real stuff. Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, be telling me Sunday Bloody Sunday is about something that's not a terrible Sunday.
Exactly. Yeah, the worst Sunday ever.
Love talent parties.
Yeah.
Not playing that again.
Exactly. Being stuck in traffic or whatever it was. Sunday. Bloody Sunday.
The kids are running around, you're trying to read the newspaper. Lawnmowers. Sunday.
Yeah.
Bloody. Fucking love that.
So the initial incarnation of the Dead Kennedys lasted from 1978 until 1986. Jello Biafra, the lead singer, became like an active campaigner against the PMRC, the Parents Musical Resource Centre, which would have been anybody who's ever listened to like fucking Body Count or any of those kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of albums, you'll hear people giving out about the PRMC an awful lot, giving out about Tipper Gore, who was, I think, Al Gore's wife.
Oh, yeah. Is that when Dee Snider from his sister went up against her?
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody had a shot. Jello Biafra became one of the kind of proper voices because I think they might have had, they had like a, I'm trying to remember who the first band was to get slapped with that parental advisory sticker. I can't remember who it was, but I think Dead Kennedys were on the chopping block because of some album cover they had, which had like a dead child's hand in it or something like that. They went after them for something. So there was an obscenity trial in 1985 and 1986, and Jello Biafra was kind of brought in to be, because he was very kind of, he's very eloquent and he could talk and he's super smart, Jello Biafra. He's incredibly fucking intelligent. And so he's a good kind of front man to lead the kind of musicians forward. He also doesn't look like a fucking knobhead like Dee Snider, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he could. It's weird. He's one of those punks that could pass off as normal.
100%. He actually looks like Jack
Henry
Black
Rollins
now.
looked like he could work in Easton's.
Exactly. Yeah, just put a jumper on him. And he's just a big lad now, you know. Yeah. But yeah, so the band disbanded in 1986, and it was, I think they kind of reached the point where, like, you know, we fucking done all we can deal with, you know. I think what had kind of happened was they figured they'd said enough and they didn't want to water anything down, but also they were sick of all the fucking violence at gigs because they thought they were like the thinking man's punk band. And they, like, a lot of people who were following them and buying their records were like, it was almost revolutionary music. And what had happened is the scene had turned from like this almost like beatnik kind of fucking scene in the late 70s of punks who were like, you know, interested in alternative concepts into cunts just spitting on each other and headbutting each other.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is what I always fucking think about punk, right? If I was genuinely putting effort into the music and I had a message, imagine a lot of people came in, tap dancers.
Yeah.
That tap dance to your music with their backs to you.
Yeah.
That didn't care what you were doing. Mostly only cared about the drum beat, maybe, possibly, at best.
Yeah.
Would you not be like, get the fuck out of my gig?
Exactly. Well, I think what happened was they were just
all coming in tap dancing with your backs.
Exactly.
That's what I think, moshing and spitting on it. So it's the same to me. Yeah, if you're not listening to music, you just go, fuck off.
Yeah, me head shit. Yeah, exactly. So they got a pound their bollocks with this. They were like looking at people knocking the bollocks out of each other, spitting at them, spitting at each other, headbutting each other, fucking slam dancing, kicking each other in the head. They were like, this is fucking nonsense. This is not what we're about. Like, we're here to kind of spread a message that, you know, you're being done wrong by the fucking world, and, you know, we're here to tell you about it. And so they were like, you know what, let's knock this in the head and maybe we'll come back to it at some stage. So Jello went on, he went on and kind of collaborated with a bunch of bands, done stuff with DOA, done stuff with No Means No. When he started 2 new bands, he started a band called Lard, which everybody talks about Lard an awful lot.
Yeah, I heard it a lot, but I couldn't tell you a song or anything.
Yeah, it's kind of what you think it's going to be honest with you. And then he started the Guantanamo School of Medicine, which is kind of what he would have been a little bit more recent. Up until like the mid-2000s, he would have been touring with the Guantanamo School of Medicine. And
when someone famous goes into these bands and you hear about them, you're like, yeah, if they came to my town, I'd go and see them. But
exactly.
I'm not going to go
the Guantanamo School of Music played here a couple of times. School of Medicine played here a couple of times. But you know what? I like the Dead Kennedys, and I listened to loads of the other stuff afterwards, and it's not for me. You know, it's just not for me. So he was involved in a movie. He made a fucking movie. He made what else did he? I think he done an album with like Melvins. I think he might have done another album with No Means No. He's done a bunch of these kind of little. Let's make an album of fucking, and I'll sing with the singer. You know what I mean? Like, jump in, we'll do a Jello Biafra and Friends kind of fucking thing.
Yeah. Did he actually have a Jello Biafra and Friends? That sounds really like familiar.
Might have. I think he might have done. I mean, he might have had some, again, another type of fucking installation somewhere in San Francisco where he was. Now, here's the big thing: is that Jello Biafra set up the record label that the Dead Kennedys were signed to. It was called Alternative Tentacles. Is the name of the record label. Now, he set it up with the guitarist from Dead Kennedys guy called East Bay Ray. And but East Bay Ray didn't really he wasn't that interested in the fucking mechanics of the record label. It's just they wanted to put their music out. So Jello was like, I couldn't have a head for this, so I'll take the fucking lead on it. Like, you still, co-owner and all this type of shit, but you let me fucking run with it. Now, Alternative Tentacles went on to become one of the most famous and lauded fucking punk labels ever. Like, they put out so much fucking great stuff over the years. So, like, still active, still a fantastic label. But in 2000, there was a big fucking legal case, a big joint legal case about royalties. As fucking always. Now, bear in mind, this is like 20 years after the band had disbanded. And I don't think they were really on talking terms. Like, enough kind of time had passed from just not to be fucking interested, like, whatsoever, with kind of dealing with each other. The idea of getting back together again was just past, and it all moved on. So, big royalties fucking case. And it turns out that Biafra was found guilty of withholding royalties from the band. But it turns out now, both parties, the guys in the band and Jello, both agree now that it was an accountancy error. There was a problem with the way the accounts are set up. That Jello wasn't like willfully withholding money from the group at all. It was just something was fucking wrong. Some decimal point wasn't carried fucking 40 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So so whichever way it worked out, they're able to get their money back and all this kind of shit. So the
money was only resting in his account.
Pretty much. Now, I think it's around 2000. I think it's around 2000. Yeah, it's 99, either 99 or 2001. The band get back together again, but without Jello Biafra. Jello wants nothing to do with them. So the rest of the band,
the Dead Kennedys.
So they started off being called like DK entities or something fucking stupid, or Dead Kennedys DC, or some
legal loophole name.
Some legal fucking loophole, right? But as this kind of this royalties case progressed, it turns out that Alternative Tentacles kind of lose the exclusive rights to the Dead Kennedys albums, and this means now that all the rights for the songs and the stuff for the band and the logo and all this kind of shit kind of revert back to the guys in the band. And if there's like a majority, if there's 3 guys in the band that say we want to re-release Fresh Fruit for Rotten Vegetables on fucking red vinyl.
That's their biggest album, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
The big monster one.
Yeah, big. That's fucking killer album as well. So if they want to release, do a repress or do a special edition or box set, they're able to do it. Well, before they weren't, because it was all controlled by Alternative Tentacles, who were very, very strict about how the Dead Kennedy stuff was used. So there was fuck all money coming in for them. So once this was done and the rights to the name and fucking imagery and all this kind of shit revert back to it, the rest of the band say, well, we're just going to call ourselves fucking Dead Kennedys. Like, fuck you, you know? Now, what they do is they bring in a bunch of fucking singers. They bring in one guy. And I think his name was, what's his name? Fucking Brandon Cruz. 2001 is when they start playing again. Bring in a guy called Brandon Cruz. So he leaves in 2003, and they bring a guy called Jeff Penalty in. So he leaves in 2008. Then a guy called Ron Green, he comes in, and then he fucks off. So they keep eating through these fucking singers, and they don't know what to do. Now, in 2017, Riot Fest offers them a bunch of fucking money, to get together again. Them and Jello, to do a proper fucking reunion. So what they do was they turn around to Jello and they're like, fucking listen, do you want to do this, you know? But it turns out that the guys in the band had sent a letter via their manager to Jello as opposed to ringing him. And Jello said, like, if fucking Ray or one of the guys in the band...
That's awful.
Exactly. Had to just rang me and said, listen, we're past all this bullshit and we're after being offered a load of money to do this fucking gig. People have been dying to see this fucking thing. Like, can we do it? Like, Jello said, I probably would have done it. I probably would have done a couple of gigs just for the people who never got to see us. But the fact that they fucking didn't ask me personally, they sent a poxy fucking letter through the management company, said, I'm absolutely not doing it. It's never going to fucking happen.
Even if that may or may not be true, he might just be like, I was always going to say no, but I want to fuck them off even more by saying that. Well be. But either way, that does show good fucking punk ethos or whatever. Yeah. Like, I don't know much about that, but I do love when someone says no.
Exactly. No. Now, apparently one of the reasons that they don't talk to each other anymore is because Polydor Records were very interested in signing the band. They saw that they were doing particularly well, and they wanted to sign the band. Mm-hmm. And Ray had been talking to Polydor kind of behind Jello's back. Jello was like, we're not signing to a fucking label. We are not signing to a major label. We have our own record label. We get to control everything. Why the fuck would you ever want to sign to a major label? And Ray was pissed off. He said, there's fucking loads of money in it. It's a proper fucking record label, Jello. Like, Jesus Christ. As opposed to this shit we're doing out your shed, we can have a proper, like, Polydor is a big fucking name. They want to put our stuff out. Now, apparently, while all this was going on, Polydor found out that the next single that the Dead Kennedys were going to release was called Too Drunk to Fuck. And they withdrew all interest. Yeah, they withdrew all fucking interest in it. Now, why I picked the Dead Kennedys is because there's been plenty of fucking punk bands and plenty of alternative bands and rock bands that have kind of changed singer and went on to record new material. Look at Alice in Chains, look at the Misfits, look at Black Flag. They changed singers like fucking 3 or 4 times. It's a common theme for punk bands, any band really, to change singers. We've done entire podcasts about it. But the last Dead Kennedy album was released in 1986. And that was it. The band are still touring to this day with whatever singers, blah, blah, blah. They have not released a single solitary thing.
Since 86?
1986. They're still touring off those couple of fucking albums, 4 albums and 1 EP.
We were like learning to walk.
The what?
We were learning to walk.
Exactly, yeah. So I think the last album was Frankenchrist, and there was Murder over that as well, because of the cover. But so 1986 was the last Dead Kennedys album. So they have retired recording new material. I don't think that's ever going to happen. The guys are too old. I don't think they want to record stuff with a different singer. Also, they have a terrible track record of keeping these new singer guys either. You know what I mean? They ate through fucking 3 or 4 of them in a couple of years. But yeah, they're still doing the rounds, still tour. They pretty much played at that Rebellion Festival every year with whatever singer they can get their fucking hands on. But yeah, absolutely no new material since 1986. So that was the Dead Kennedys. Who was your next one?
There's another band I've wanted to have on a playlist for a good while, and that's XTC. I want to talk about Andy Partridge, the frontman of XTC. XTC are just such a fucking incredible band. Super. Up there for me with like Lar Talk. Yeah. For just incredibly inventive and unique band. But they're from Swindon, of all places, in England.
Swindon.
And even Andy Partridge said himself, if we had come from a big city like London or Manchester, we would have been heralded as much more godlike. But we're going to get into what I think is a little bit more of the reason why they didn't get as much. And this comes down to not touring. What can do? What it possibly can do? Maybe not. I don't know. Because they did tour, but then he stopped. So he quit touring, and we'll talk about that now in a minute. So for anyone who doesn't know XTC, you might know the song Making Plans for Nigel, which is a phenomenal song. But I think I picked Senses Working Overtime, which is one of my favourite songs. And the album English Settlement is just so fucking good. It's so quality. And it was after that album that he said no more tour. He said no more touring.
Me saying no.
As a result, he and they quit playing live. So around 81, 82, they had been supporting the Police on a world tour. And in the middle of a live broadcasted kind of performance, the performance was beforehand. I was watching this earlier on there was a little documentary made about it. They were setting up, they were recording all the stuff, and he seemed to be in a kind of weird mood. And then it cuts to the gig. And in the first song, he walks off the stage, and apparently he got on a plane back to Swindon. Immediately went to the airport, and that was the end of them playing.
Done.
Touring live, yeah. So the world wants to know what the hell had happened. He went so quiet. He went into therapy. He went so quiet though, off the grid, that there was people thought he was dead.
Really?
People thought he had died. Because there was so little out of him. Like the band, obviously, I think knew he was grand. Yeah. But I was reading up that there was like XTC tribute nights held for the death of Andy Partridge and stuff like that. Shit. But he hadn't at all. Soon after that, they were due to play a sold-out gig at the Hollywood Palladium, and he just said, "I couldn't get out of bed." He said, "I can't get out of bed," and he said his legs were like stone. And he finally got up. He put his hand on the doorknob. And the vomit started. Like he felt like he was just about to get sick. Yeah. He was that having a panic attack that much about going back on stage. And it's gas because I was watching the performance where he walked off. It's chilling. Like he's in the. It's because it doesn't look like it's coming out of anywhere, and something just clicks. He's like making funny faces at the funny because the songs are so like there's loads of sarcasm and tongue in cheek, and they're real like jovial, but in a sort of cynical way. And I love that feeling of a singer who's writing songs and he's not comfortable, and it comes through really well. Just takes the guitar off and walks off, and even the band don't even see it happening.
Really?
Like, look, they don't even see him. They think he just walked off the side or whatever like that. They keep on playing. The whole thing just cuts down. So what was wrong with Andy Partridge? Well, loads of people said, he hates flying. But then other people were like, we flew loads though. But he had been taking Valium since he was a teenager.
Fuck.
And he quit taking it. And the withdrawals were so bad that they kicked off panic attacks that amalgamated in this super fear when he was on stage or having to tour it like that. So he tried, I think he really tried to go to therapy and hypnotherapy to try and get over this. But from English Settlement onwards, they had to become a studio band.
Really?
Which was mostly him and a guy called what's his name? Colin Montrose? Colin Moulding, that's it, yeah. Colin Moulding are the two mainstays of that band who kept it going just as a studio project.
Yeah.
Because when you're not playing live and you can do, I imagine if you can do certain parts, like they still were a band, but if you look at the timeline, the other way Wikipedia will show you those timelines. I'm always mad into them when it comes to people leaving. I want to get
those
my facts right.
Graphical timelines are great.
Graphical timelines, they're really helpful for people like me and you when we want to just double check real quickly off the bat what time he joined and what time he left.
Yeah.
It's on and off, but those are the two mainstays. And I imagine if you were in the studio and you were okay at bass, and your bassist might be getting pissed off not touring, you're just going to be that new bassist now because it's a studio. Now, I don't know how that worked out. Actually, in fact, I could be wrong. Colin Moulding might have been the actual bassist. It's a terrible example. What I'm saying is he had a dependency on Valium. There were stories that his wife threw out. He was still taking it, and his wife threw it out, and it sent an absolute spiral when he was on tour.
Yeah, not having access to that.
Not having access to that.
Yeah, fuck.
What happened then, he was getting bouts of amnesia. They said he called it brain melt.
Really?
When he went off the stuff, he would wake up and not know who he was.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who I am. So he said that, he knew the entire story about Syd Barrett and he thought that's happening to me. So I'll still do music in the studio. So they did continue on making albums, to be fair, after the break, because he did have a couple of breakdowns, to be honest with you. They were considered breakdowns. The cancellation of the American tour meant that they were stuck with a 20 grand bill, and that was in the 80s sterling. They continued to make albums, like I said, up until 2016, where the two of them, Moulding and Andy Partridge, said that we can't work together anymore. So
really,
it's crazy. They did still release a lot of albums. So like the Beatles and Brian Wilson to a lesser extent, it came a time where they just chose the studio.
Yeah.
So this touring crack, for whatever reason, we know Beatles is different. They couldn't hear themselves and they wanted to progress musically, and it did work. Go there. That's where you can be creative. Brian Wilson was like, "You go off and tour. I'll stay here." No one really cares that much anyway.
Yeah,
I'll write an album, comes out as Pet Sounds.
Yeah,
unreal. And this is XTC afterwards. Now I don't think they had a better album than English Settlement, but there is some good stuff after that.
Yeah,
but that's Andy Partridge decided to quit live, not music though.
Yeah. Just couldn't be doing couldn't be out and about. Go into the studio, I'll make the fucking albums, write the songs, but I ain't sticking around.
I think what could have happened was, even if he got over the withdrawals of Valium, the fear of what happened maybe on that stage might stay with you as a completely separate entity. Maybe. Where you're like, right,
trauma, like
shit, that's a new thing now. That could happen to me again. I never want to have that to happen again. Because I'd say he felt terrible about disappointing people. I don't know what kind of guy he is, really. Based on the interviews, it's very quite hard to tell, but he is one of those incredibly seemingly introverted fucking guys. But he was a great frontman, and XTC. Right. I talk about XCC all day. I really, 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 really like
yeah.
that band, and I love that album. Who's your next one? What did they do? Why did they quit? What did
they do to me? My next one is Kiss. And Kiss. Okay, so now these are the ones that, all right, that they could be codding us. They could be codding us, and I'm going to give you a reason why they could be just codding us, lads. They could be.
Right.
So I picked God Gave Rock and Roll to You, part 2. I don't even know if there's part 1. I just like that song. That's the Bill and Ted fucking song, which I like a lot. Which is actually off Revenge, which is a really cool album. We've talked about that 1,000 times, which is the album that kind of Kiss made during the grunge era, where they start wearing like flannel shorts and leather jackets.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, it's a great album, actually. The song I call Unholy, that's fucking super. And it's probably the best song on the album, bar this one. I really, really like this song. It's garbage, but I have a lot of time for it. So Kiss formed in New York City in 1973, which is news to me as well. I always thought Kiss were from Detroit because they have fucking Detroit Rock City and loads of songs about Detroit. I, honest to God, hand on heart, thought that Kiss were from Detroit.
Like, get the answer right, I would have shot up fucking...
100%.
I would have shot up Detroit and then New York, possibly. I would have done it New York.
100% thought it was fucking... Like, up until like 3 days ago, I was adamant that Kiss were from Detroit. But however, they're not. They're from New York City. Their lineup changes are legendary. Like, we're talking... Like, I'm sure there are entire books written about how many people have come in and out and back in and then back out, but then back in on the sly because they got to hide behind fucking face paint. Like, the history of Kiss is fucking mental.
Sure, you'd never know.
Exactly. That they done that an awful lot. They were fuckers for it. The only kind of original members is Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, right? Which, I mean, maybe that's all you need, but I doubt it. You know, like the classic lineup, the first...
Chris!
Yeah, exactly. There's got through so many different members. It was fucking insane. They've had like, I think, semi-permanent members. They've had like 10 different people jump in and out of that band. But there's different eras to Kiss. It's such a strange band, man. One of the first bands to ever turn music into an actual business, like real business. The kings of merchandise, the kings of fucking tours, the kings of just weird shit, man. Like, I have a lot of time for Kiss. I do like Kiss. Sold over 75 million records. They're the number 1 gold record award-winning band in the world with over 30 gold albums. 30 gold albums. That's fucking insane. Insane.
It's mad because they've got fans that are not even real mad rock fans.
No, because they had
mad.
They had like a disco era, they had a ballad era, they had their grungy kind of era. They're fucking chameleons, like they really are. I mean, everything they done always sounded like Kiss, but they were pretty good at writing fucking songs, so they were able to turn everything around. Like I have this kind of Kiss. I think it's called like Kiss Retrospective or something like that, and it's like an 8-disc fucking thing that has pretty much every single song they've ever recorded on there. And it's like the definitive versions of each song, because there's so many songs they recorded 3 or 4 times. Like in different, they're on a disco version, they're on a rock version, they're on a ballad version. It's fucking weird like that. Like those John Peel LPs that you see, where they got Joy Division in for a day to just fucking redo their album real raw on the fly, you know, that kind of shit. Yeah. The first gig they ever played was to like 8 people, and they were paid $50 to play 2 sets. And they were like, we can't do this anymore. This is fucking bullshit. We need an angle. So Gene and Paul Stanley were obsessed with like Marvel comic books and shit like that. So we're like, let's fucking paint ourselves up like superheroes. Like, this would be great fun. And it was from there, then all of a sudden people start paying attention. You know, it was only when I wore a mask that people paid attention. So fucking, that was the first time they were like, let's fucking do it. They're also the first ever band in history, as part of their deal to their record label, that each individual member of the band had to release a solo album on the exact same day.
That's weird. Someone in the band said that.
Apparently what happened was, right,
there's no way a record label would give a fucking shit about that. Well, they would never.
Yeah, I think what happened, from what I read, right, is that the deal that they signed had like an atrocious amount of records attached to it, right?
Right.
So they were like, we can't pump out fucking 8 albums in 4 years or whatever the fuck they wanted, you know? So like, how the fuck are we going to figure this out? So from what I read, each individual solo album counted as half of one album. So by each person going
it's like an assist in football.
Exactly. So each person when all four released their solo albums, it counted towards their contract as 2, and that they were happy enough with that, right? Now, I have a couple of singles off Paul Stanley's album. None of them are good. Like, none of them are good. Like, Gene Simmons one is mad. He's like doing covers and it's real crooner fucking Las Vegas style shit.
So it's another Reload by Tom Jones.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Stanley's one is a little bit closer to kind of that rock and roll formula. I know Chris's one, I think Chris's one was like fucking, that was the only one that had a hit single. And that was a cover as well. So I think each person took like a week and a half in the studio and just belted out fucking 11, 12 songs. There's me fucking solo album. And they didn't sell well whatsoever. So what they've done, the label, they went back and they redone the covers of the albums to like just say Kiss as opposed to the person's name. And then they released these, I think they released these like wall hanger poster things that you could fit all 4 LPs into that like formed a big picture of Kiss or something. They were trying to use like, you know, a Pokemon card fucking mentality essentially, like Topps or Merlin card fucking psychology to try and get people to buy it.
Driven. I know we always say it, but it's
big time.
It's actually painful.
Big time.
Throwing people into like super collectors.
Exactly. But you can get Kiss coffins. Fucking. Now, I can't give out because up until like 10, 15 years ago, anything, and I mean anything, that had Misfits Fiend face or Misfits logo on it, I bought. I had Misfits shoelaces, I had Misfits jocks, socks, I have Misfits tattoos on me, but you name it, fucking t-shirts, hoodies, hats, you fucking name it, I bought Misfits stuff. I had Misfits car air fresheners. Like I bought into it because I think that the Misfits logo, the Fiend face, is the greatest piece of fucking like music imagery ever made. Like, it's just, I can't find fault with it. It's perfect. And Kiss were the guys who opened up that fucking gate, you know. Here's something weird that I found out as well. In 1999, Kiss joined forces with WCW Wrestling, right, which is Ted Turner's wrestling company.
Right.
And they I don't know whether they approached WCW or WCW approached them, but they done this kind of collaboration with them to create a wrestler, right? So they created this wrestler called The Demon. He was like roughly based on Gene Simmons as a kind of fucking, you know, he wore like the big boots and he had the bat wings and he had the makeup and all this kind of shit. He licked his tongue around his fucking gob, all this type of bullshit. And apparently for, like, they've been making a big deal out of fucking, you know, Kiss is working with WCW and all this kind of shit. So Kiss said, listen, here's what we'll do. We'll come out and we'll play a song, right? We'll play a song on a Monday Night Nitro, which is like their big show. And we'll come out and we'll play a song that'll be like his like entrance to the ring, and you know, be deadly. So we're like, oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Let's fucking do it. So the fucking Demon comes out, gets into the ring, whatever, wins the fucking match. But for his entrance music, Kiss are there. They play one single song, and they got paid $500,000 to play one single song. They didn't even stick around. Played the song, fucked off. Right? That was the end of it. What did they play? They played God of Thunder is what they played.
Right.
And so yeah, man goes out, $500,000, bang, back pocket, off they go. Now turns out, we find out later on that episode of WCW Nitro was the lowest rated episode of wrestling ever recorded.
That's a bad investment on their part.
Yeah. The reason WCW folded because they spent so much money on nonsense and let the wrestlers have the run of fucking thing. So I guarantee you, somebody also, you're dealing with WCW who also brought the Misfits in when they had Michael Graves singing for them, who were an actual tag team.
Now, do you know what they should have done? Paid enough money to see Kiss versus the Misfits in a fucking...
It could have happened. They went a million miles away from each other in time.
Imagine that.
Only a year or two between them, because I think the Misfits done good business.
We put them against each other in a poll on our...
We did.
On Facebook. Who won that?
Misfits won.
Misfits battered Kiss.
Yeah, smashed Kiss to bits, yeah. Of course,
yeah.
I love Kiss, but every incarnation of the Misfits is better than Kiss. Like, I have to give him that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, man is a prick, but that music is fucking superb. That's the lowest rated wrestling show of all time. Like, it just... No, the Demon only lasted like 2 weeks after that before they got rid of him. They were fucking, we can't be involved in this anymore. Now...
Should have got Billy Corgan.
Should have got Billy Corgan. Yeah, he's got NWA now. He's charging a fortune, I think, for footage, I think, at the moment. Old footage from the 70s and 80s. He's like fucking looking for mad money.
Does he own all of it now?
Obviously. He owns NWA, yeah, the National Wrestling Alliance. He owns it. He bought it for nothing. For nothing.
WWE WWE would have you believe that none of that matters anymore, but loads of people still love that more than they do.
Super important, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's the foundations of it all, you know.
Ric Flair and all came from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's literally the foundations of everything that you see on whatever, wrestling now. It's pretty much all NWA. Okay, so this is fucking mental. Right, here we go. I'm going to give you...
Sorry.
No, you're all right. I'm just reading this list here that I'm going to run through here. Okay, so Kiss in the year 2000 say, listen, we're going to do a farewell tour. You know, where we might record a few albums every now and again, but like, you know, everybody's getting on and we have our own little, you know, Gene Simmons just suing people for using semicolons and shit. Like, we're on it here, you know, we've got our own little businesses going. And I think we're going to slow down Kiss and just do fucking maybe a gig every now and again, randomly, because they do this cruise, the Kiss cruise. So we might do that. And we might record a few albums, but, you know, we're done touring. We're not doing these world tours anymore. So they started it in the year 2000.
Right.
So they've done their farewell tour from 2000 to 2001. And then it gets all quiet for a little bit. And then in 2003, they go on a big world tour with Aerosmith. And then in 2004, they go on a big world tour.
It's the worst band name of all time.
Exactly, yeah.
The more I say it to people, the more they start going, oh my God, it's terrible.
Exactly. So bear in mind, Kiss have done their farewell tour that finished in 2001. They toured the world, sold tickets off the back of it, being their last ever gigs, right? They're like, listen, we're done touring. This is it, like. If you love Kiss, come and see us on these 2000 to 2001. Fuck, we're doing 1 year of solid world tours, and we're done. We're out, right? Fucking
one band you can never trust.
You cannot trust Kiss whatsoever. They are fucking lying to you every single time, and I've got the proof that they're lying to you because they finished their final tour in 2001, 2003 off they go with Aerosmith, 2004 off they go with Poison. They do a couple of shows in 2005. They do a couple of shows in 2006. In 2008 they do a European tour. In 2008 they do a world tour. In 2009 they do a South American tour. They put out a new album in 2009. They do a European tour in 2010. In 2011 they do a bunch of Canadian and US shows. They put another album out in 2012. So in 2012, they go on a world tour. In 2014, they go on a world tour with Def Leppard. In 2016, they do a small city tour of the US, of cities that they've missed in the past. 2018, they do a USA and Canadian tour. And then they fucking announce it. This is like 6 months ago. They turn around and they say, we're going to do our final gig of our final tour. It's going to be July 17th, 2021 in Madison Square Gardens in New York City. So do you believe them, Helmet?
Well, I saw them in that time that you mentioned there, so no, I don't believe it at all.
They're lying. They're fucking lying. Now, eventually they will.
Man. That's like.
I literally just listed off
limited pressing of something, and then there's not a limited pressing of it, and they add more to it.
I listed off 17 years worth of touring after their final tour, just there, and I didn't even cover all of it. There was loads more. 17 years of touring after their final tour. You know what I mean? Like, just scumbaggery. Now, again, I do think they want to do it, but I think every now and again somebody just throws some money at them. And a Kiss tour must be pretty handy. They have all the pyrotechnics, they have all the trucks, and they've got the wigs and makeup. You know, it doesn't take much. I'm sure they travel in absolute luxury and absolute style. And, you know, it doesn't hurt them to do it. Like, they're a huge fucking band. Like, I don't know. But I think they will eventually. All of them have to. But I don't believe them.
I'm over Kiss.
I'm kind of over Kiss as well. I still every now and again a bang fucking.
Oh, you know what? I nearly saw them.
They
were playing Grasspop when I was supposed to go, and I didn't want to go to that one because I had seen them a while ago, and I was not pushed to go to that gig that they played in Dublin. It was the last gig of it might have been their Lawyers.
Yeah, like, that was part of the final tour as well. Yeah.
It was an incredible.
That was like 4 years ago or something.
No, it was longer than that.
There was another one 4 or 5 years ago. There was one in the Tree Arena.
Yeah, the one I saw in the Tree Arena must have been about 8 years ago. And it was absolutely incredible, I have to admit. Jesus, it was.
There you go. And apparently, the last couple of years, they've been using backing tracks. For the last 10 years, apparently, it's all backing tracks. They're just miming. They're not playing at all.
Yeah.
They got stung for that. And he, Paul Stanley came out and said, well, I have to look after my voice, like.
Anyway, not driving a car, like in the fucking Eddie Irvine or whatever.
Yeah.
Or fucking, what's his name? Lewis Hamilton. Well, I have to look after my car. So
exactly.
I'm going to send someone else out in a different car, like a robot car.
Yeah, exactly.
Look after myself. Yeah, come on.
That was Kiss. Who is your next one?
Looking out at dirty old windows. Yeah. Kim Wilde. Kim Wilde's another person that's fucking me up on this now because in my head, Kim Wilde had retired from music forever. But of course, I remember she's in the 80s, and when I checked back, she'd gone back again. But she did give up for Jesus, I think over 10 years. So it counts. But she burned me, so fuck her. We all know Kim Wilde, Kids in America, View from a Bridge, You Keep Me Hanging On. She actually holds the record for being the most charted British female solo act of the 1980s. Take that, Kate Bush. Even though a lot of them were in the 70s. Also, Kate Bush is phenomenally better. But look, Kim Wilde was massive. She had, Jesus, I think it was something like 25 top 20 hits in a row in America or something fucking mad like that.
That's big numbers.
I had that there and I deleted. She had 25 big massive songs in a row. I don't remember. I only remember those big ones. But then again, you go back and check. There's loads of ballads and I go, oh, you remember those?
Yeah.
But she quit music when she realised that Michael Jackson was in a bad way.
Really?
And she goes, I don't want that to happen to me. I'm like, bit of a difference now there, but okay, I'll see your point. So she began gardening. She'd already been kind of gardening in the 90s. No, this is mad, right? She began gardening in the 90s, right? And she moved to the countryside. Yeah. And she won a gold medal award for the best courtyard garden at the Chelsea Flower Show of 2005. So what she did was she decided to give it all up, properly living out in the country.
Yeah.
Started a new career as a landscape gardener. And she started presenting shows on BBC and Channel 4 about landscape gardening and all that.
It's fucking mad.
I've started to read more and more about this, and then I read that she was still touring like a mad thing. Like, I was like, fuck you, Kim. In my head, you'd quit. I was like, I had that in my head. You know when you have this in your head, you never go back to check.
Yeah.
Kim Wilde had quit to become, I wouldn't say gardener, I'd say a landscape expert. And she was great at it. And it's such an unusual thing to change. But I think it was between 2009 and then recently. So 10 years, I think, before she started to start touring like mad again. Because we've seen those 80s things rolling through town. Those
They pop, they rear their ugly head every now and again.
I'd say they're all right, but there's going to be a bang of desperation off like a lot of them.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm not giving you any more time, Kim. You went back to her and it made me think for ages you were, and I put you on the list and I came to do the research for it. I was like, oh, fuck it, she'd loads of gigs. But she did, in my defence and her defence, give up for years to become a landscape gardener. Who's your next one?
Okay, right. My last one is Bob Seger. I had to turn the page there. I forgot to turn the page on my notes.
Bob Seger, turn the page.
All right.
No,
so I picked,
is that not his song?
It's one of them, yeah. Bob Seger. Okay, so I picked Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. I played this on our fucking Saturday night shows a couple of times. I fucking love the song to bits. Bob Seger's a weird...
It is a Bob Seger song. Yeah. Shit. Turn. Metallica covered it. Turn the page. Here I go again. I genuinely thought you were making the funniest joke I've heard you made in years.
No, not that.
It's Bob Seger. I have to turn the page.
It's Sunday. It's not happening, man.
Still fucking great though.
I'm barely here.
You could edit the bit out where I go, no joke, and you go, yeah, that was my joke. Yeah, that was my joke.
We'll let you have the leg up on it.
Okay.
Bob Seger, Ramblin' Gamblin' Man, super song. So Robert Clark Seger, born in 1945 in Detroit. We're back to Detroit again. He basically spans about 6 decades making music, which is fucking mad weird. Covers an awful lot of fucking space, this lad. Sold 75 million records, which is fucking insane. 75 million records. But the legend of Bob Seger is very, very unusual. He is really only mega popular in Detroit.
No, I don't know.
We get through this, right? Like,
he's monstrous.
He's don't get me wrong. He's a big name. He's a big name
in
now.
This Hollywood Nights, what a fucking banger. Go on, sorry, bro.
In his fucking height, no one wanted anything to do with him. Even like when he was doing like Silver Bullet Band and shit like that, like no one had anything to do with him, right? So he started off as a singer of a local band called the Decibels. And then he went on, he jumped between a load of different fucking bands. His career is fucking insane, right? If you look at the albums he's been on, he does this thing like we were saying about Jello Biafra earlier, where it's like he just jump on someone else's album and do a couple of songs and then fuck off. And it's like, well, what are you doing tomorrow, Bob? And he's like, don't know, man. Might just do a gig with fucking U2 or something. Like there's no rhyme or reason to his career. You know what I mean? He ends up forming what's called the Bob Seger system. The second single they ever put out as Bob Seger system is this song, "Ramblin' Gamblin' Man." This would be one of his bigger fucking kind of shit kicker, honky tonky kind of songs. In 1974, he knocks out on the head, and he does, like I said, the Silver Bullet Band. After Bob Seger system, so Bob Seger system lasts for a while, and then I think the record label turned around and said, "Don't call it that, just be Bob Seger." And he's like, "No, I want to have a band." So he forms this fucking Silver Bullet Band. Now, he's always done real well in Detroit. But he always, like, most of his records sold in the Michigan area. Most of his gigs always sold out in the Michigan area. And when he moved away from Michigan, he had awful trouble. Like, he played the Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit one night to 80,000 people. And the next night, he played in Chicago to less than 1,000. Like, that's how beloved he was in Michigan.
Maybe I'm just thinking of it like now retrospectively.
He's a big name, 100%. Yeah. Like in his height in the fucking 70s and 80s, like don't get me wrong, he was a fucking rock and roll name. Like, everybody knew Bob Seger, but he wasn't fucking selling out like massive gigs. Like, now we get to look back and you get to see like this massive career, the amount of albums he put out and how influential he was and all this kind of shit. But back in the day, like that's a big 80,000 one night and less than 1,000 the next. Like, and it's 4 hours away. Like, I've driven from Detroit to Chicago. Like, it's a piece of piss. You know what I mean? Like, people would have came from Chicago to go to that Detroit gig and vice versa. And less than 1,000 people the next day, which is fucking crazy. He co-wrote "Heartache Tonight" by the Eagles as well. He one of the guys, "Heartache Tonight." I think that's the song. Yeah. So he in one of his earlier bands, I think it might have been the Bob Seger system. I think maybe the keyboard player from the Eagles was in one of his early bands. So he always had these big connections to the Eagles. There was a couple of guys that ended up in the Eagles, might have been in his early groups as well. He toured with a couple of them way down. So in the late 90s, he started kind of slowing down, but he's still releasing albums all the way into 2000s. And so he keeps putting stuff out to keep himself occupied. But around 2018, he says, "You know what? I'm fucking out of here, man. I've enough of this." So he says, "This is my final tour, 2018. It's called the Traveling Man Tour." And he done it, and that's it. And as far as I know, Bob Seger might have done the odd gig here and there, but he hasn't done any more tours. He's knocked it on the head completely. He's jumped around a little bit, done a few bits and bobs. He's getting on, like, you know. He's born in 1945, like. You know what I mean? He's born during World War II.
Some of his songs are just perfection.
He's a murderous cunt. 18 albums, 2 live albums, and 5 compilations, like best ofs and stuff like that. He put a good one out there. When was it? 5 or 6 years ago. They done this thing where they put together loads of his earliest recordings, and they put it out on like a 3 or 4 disc. I think it's CD only. I'm sure there's maybe an LP version of it. But usually for those compilations, you're always better off buying the CD because they fit more on it. The LP is always have fuck all. They never have the correct amount of songs.
I know. It's annoying because they want to fit it onto the same amount of, like, they want it to sound good and fit it onto the certain amount.
Yeah, you always end up with half of the stuff. Because I always wanted to buy that Prodigy, the Best of the Prodigy, Their Law. And the CD one has the second disc with all the remixes, the Pendulum remix of Voodoo People and stuff. It's fucking great. The remixes are deadly. Because the Prodigy are one of the bands that just lean towards remixes really well. And so I have the CD version, but the LP version just has all the Prodigy songs, and I have most of them on LP anyway. Although I did go to look, I went to go and see how much I Was Outnumbered, Never Outgunned was on LP the other day. Bananas money.
It's like Jeff Buckley's Grace. The CD one has Forget Her, but the record one doesn't. I think they might have released a version of the vinyl with Forget Her, which is, Jesus, that song.
Super. Anyway, that was Bob Seger. Who was your last one?
My last one is Bill Withers. Bill Withers quit music. He just quit it. He just went, "I'm going to quit music.
I am out."
Yeah, so everyone knows Bill Withers from Lovely Day. Wake up in the morning. If you don't know that song, you'll know Ain't No Sunshine. If you don't know that song, you'll know Use Me. If you don't know that, you'll know Just the Two of Us, which was covered by Will Schmidt. If you don't know that, you'll know Lean on Me. Bill Withers, powerhouse for 15 years, from 1970 to 85. Just banger, 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 banger. A funny story I was reading about Bill Withers there the other week. He was laid off from his factory job a few months just before he released one of his 4 singles, Just As I Am. Just before that came out. And after the album was released, he said he received 2 letters on the exact same day. One was from his workplace asking him to come back, and the other one was from The Tonight Show. Imagine that. But those 2 letters. Ooh, which one am I going to go for? He appeared in 1971 on The Tonight Show. But Ain't No Sunshine, another classic story of the DJ flipping the record over. It was a B-side.
That happens a lot.
Song, Harlem, yeah. He said that was never supposed to be a big song, and he said he was very surprised that it was. That's mad. I love those stories about a B-side, because, like a DJ flipping, like, this song is great, it'll flip it over. Oh, hang on a second.
Hang on.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes DJs know more than record executives, apparently.
That could be actually, when you think about it, that could be a great podcast.
It would be major songs that started off as B-sides.
There you go. Yes, there you go, folks. You just saw the creation of a podcast.
Yeah, we'll do that. So, up until recently, he sat in his gaff since the 80s in an Adidas tracksuit. And he was reading. I was reading an interview with him recently where he said, "I wouldn't know a pop chart from a pop tart." What a quote, Bill Withers! What a fucking brilliant quote. Another thing he said in the interview, he said, "Years and years," because he was like, I can remember what Bill Withers looks like in the 70s from the pictures, but no one would remember what he looked like after that because he grew old from 85 to now. No, he died this year. He died in March. March just gone at the age of 81. But he said years and years ago he was having breakfast in a diner and he heard Ladies Next was the song. His song came on. They were like, "Oh my God, I love this song. It's my favourite songs of all time." And after he finished, he walked up and he went, "Hey, it's I wrote that." And they went, "No, you didn't." Oh. And he was like, "No, I'm Bill Withers." They went, "You look nothing like him." And he's like, "No, but like I am." And he just went, "Fuck this." The awkwardness of imagine the awkwardness. Imagine he was probably just trying to be nice, like, "Hey," and they're like, "Oh my God, it's you! That's so nice to see you." It's what he is, but no. They actually said you're too white looking.
Really?
Yeah, because he's very light skinned.
Yeah. And
like in the album covers we all see it in black and white, he just looks dark. I don't know. Anyway, that's what they said to me. He has been begged. He was before he passed. Obviously, begged numerous times. Begged, asked, offered money to come back, but he was so genuinely ambivalent to it all. Like, I'm done. And when you he used to tease all the time. I might come up with another album, and people are like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Nah, I'm not doing it now." He liked sitting in his Adidas. I keep saying like he's still alive. I keep forgetting that it's too soon, Gar.
Yeah,
you know?
Too soon. Fucking sitting around with a pair of fucking Adidas bleeding tracksuit bottoms or whatever, just looking out the window.
Yeah, in Hollywood.
Fucking right.
Or in West Hollywood, yeah. I love that Alan Partridge joke. We can't use that joke anymore now, though. He goes, "That was Bill Withers, who thankfully is still with us." I know he's not. We can't make that joke anymore. Yeah, a lot of time for Bill Withers. That song, listen to the drums on Use Me. I think it's the song that I put up there. Listen to the drums.
Use Me is a super song, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the most extreme examples of quitting and staying quit.
Staying quitted. Staying out.
15 years, and he said to the record, he had a meeting with them and said, "I'm done now." And they went, "Okay." I guess for whatever he said, he goes, we probably ran out his record deal, and went, "I'm done now."
We possibly
from 85 again. We were like, when did fucking Dead Kennedys give up? 88,
86, I think.
That's mad. They gave up around the same time.
Yeah,
that's nuts. Anyway, that was our "I'm Out." The artists had decided that they had enough of either touring, or recording, or both.
And that's us out. And we will be back next week. This Saturday,
I just realised people are going to think when they read this is going to be a suicide podcast.
Suicide podcast. That's the new radio notes.
They'll think that we did. No, they'll think that we did. I'm Out, like artists that commit suicide. Absolutely never going to do that podcast.
No, that's a bit grim. It's a little bit grim. Yeah, it's a little, because
just realised, look at it, go, that looks, I bet you they'll think we did that.
They might think that. No, that's not the case. We are back. We're not doing television this Saturday, we're doing radio. So power up your Mixlr accounts. We're going to do, looks like we're going to do the TV thing. Those old things. Yeah, it looks like we're going to do the TV thing pretty much every second week, and we're going to do radio in the weeks in between. That's the plan at the moment. Show last night was fun. I enjoyed doing the show on Saturday. We had
some surreal moments,
some batshit mad moments. Basically, what we want to do, we want to make sure that when we do the TV, we actually have stuff to fill up the hours, because it's different sitting at home doing 4 hours talking shit and just playing music. It's a different animal, because we're playing records. You can only bring X amount of records in. You know, we can't bring the entire collection in home. We need a fucking band. So we have to fill a lot more time kind of on camera, and we don't want to be just sitting there.
MP3s are very light.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want to be just sitting there like, what did you do today? And that's boring. We want to make sure we have stuff. So we're going to take 2 weeks every time to kind of get our shit together and make sure we actually have a little bit of a show for you. So that's the Mixlr this Saturday. New podcast, as always, every Monday. And if you want to help us, you got the patreon.com/Lost Art Podcast. That's €5 a month. It's a subscription-based thing. Yeah. There's loads of exclusive stuff up there. Exclusive podcasts, exclusive videos, all sorts of madness up there to get access to. You don't want to do that, that's fine. You can go to ko-fi.com. The links are up on the Facebook page. Go to ko-fi.com/Lost Art Podcast. They're €3 incremental. Pay whenever you want. You want to just throw us £3, you want to throw us 6, 9,
if you
12.
laughed a lot at this and went, that laugh was worth £3, throw it at that. Yeah.
Exactly. If pay us for what we're doing, it's fucking, we need it, because we're buying equipment and there's fucking hosting hurts. Hosting is actually hurting me right now. So we need your help to keep going. So do that shit. If you have no money, that's fine. I ain't got no fucking money either. Just share us on Facebook. Facebook is our main kind of bit of social media, unfortunately, because it's,
if you know that there's nothing you can give and you're enjoying it and you don't share as well. If you don't even do that, you have to ask yourself, is that fair? And the answer is, fuck no.
Fuck no, it's not fair.
Fuck you as well.
Yeah, share it out, rate, review, subscribe on the podcast apps. We're on all the podcast apps.
Tell one of your fucking mates. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know what to tell you anymore. Yeah, exactly. Some of you are doing great work. I will say that. Some of you are doing great
absolutely, work. Absolutely, 100%. The ones who are doing great work are...
We remember you, though. We won't kill you.
We will absolutely remember you. And they'll only cover a certain amount of you. So
yeah.
Some of you are going to have to up your fucking game here, because we see the numbers every week, and we see what interactions we have every week. And we know we're getting capped by Facebook. That's fine. That's the nature of the beast. But yeah, we're not getting capped that fucking much. So share it, subscribe, fucking stars, whatever the fuck you do. Give us a fucking rate.
At least, you're more than welcome to disagree with us as well. There has to be more disagreements with us. You're going to start giving us fucking big heads thinking we're fucking authority on this shit. Just say, no, that addition to that playlist for that reason was bullshit. Call it out. I swear to God, we'd love it. We won't fucking make a show. You're not going to be a dickhead about it. No, just be sound. And tell us that we're acting the bollocks, or tell us we fucked up, and that's fine. I love fucking up, because someone will tell me something else and I'll go find something new. That's what I want. That's how we learn.
That's how we learn. But anyway, that's it for this week, gang. We are back next Monday with a fresh podcast, and we're back on Saturday with a radio show that we haven't really come up with a theme with yet. We'll announce that this week when we create the event on Facebook. Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah.